We're going to switch things over to Dr. Jeremy Gagan, who joins us now. And you are an emergency medicine physician with Community Health. And thank you so much for joining us on an incredibly busy morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And you know, with dangerously low temperatures and wind chills, what are your health concerns during winter weather like this?
Well, especially today, the number one concern would be frostbite and cold injury.
And speaking of frostbite and cold injury, first give me the differences between the two and the symptoms that people should pay attention to.
Well, there's a spectrum. The first thing that will occur in this kind of cold weather would be you'll start to notice your skin will change. It will start to turn a bright red or even blue. If you continue to stay out in this kind of weather, it will start to turn white. And finally, after that white phase, you will start to actually freeze your tissue, and that is what technically is frostbite. The most vulnerable areas of the body that you always have to watch for are the fingers, toes, ears, and nose.
Yes, and keeping those covered at all costs is very important during this type of weather. Talk to me about the cold injuries. What are some of the most common ones in these kinds of weather conditions?
Today, I think you're primarily going to see people with frost nip, which is that in between just being cold and getting frostbite. But you might see people that go out and try to shovel snow in this, try to walk out in their driveway in this, and they might fall. And we frequently see people with injuries of their ankles and wrists. But I think today is too cold to be outside and doing any of those activities. You should not be shoveling your driveway. All of that can wait till it warms up.
So waiting until it warms up is one way to prevent cold injuries. What are some other options?
You've got to cover every part of exposed skin out in this weather. Gloves, obviously something over your face. You've got to have your ears and nose covered. They're very vulnerable to getting permanent injury from this kind of cold. That type of freezing injury can cause permanent damage to your fingers, ears, toes, and nose, and you could end up losing tissue, losing a finger. It's extremely serious.
And speaking of that, what are some common misconceptions that people may have when it comes to cold injuries and keeping themselves safe in winter weather like we're experiencing?
Well, sometimes people think that if they get a little bit numb, it's okay to wait a little bit till they go back inside. That's not the case. In this kind of weather, the minute you start to feel cold, start to feel tingling and numbness in your fingers, toes, you need to go inside right away.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Gagan, for joining us this morning. The biggest things that people need to remember is to keep their bodies covered and to not go outside if you don't have to. If it can wait, you should wait. And to make sure that you're staying aware of those symptoms for hypothermia, frostbite, frost nip. So we just want to make sure that people are aware. So thank you for joining us.